All right, welcome back to Just Another Solar Podcast with Luke Beattie. That's me, Karl Jensen. G'day, Karl.
Luke, wouldn't be me without the weather report. So I see that you've had some magnificent weather in WA and it's still shit here.
There you go. How's the last fortnight been for you?
I've been to China again, which is just awesome. So that blows me away every time. Just love it. You went to China too, Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Before the last
times.
episode, Karl. But I think you turned up late. So
Yes.
You missed that little China wrap there. And Jess MacPherson, g'day.
Hey guys, I have not been to China. I've just been here in lovely Adelaide, slugging along in the trenches, selling batteries, getting it done.
And industry legend Nigel Morris.
Hello, team. Nice to be here. I'm excited.
So, Nigel, we learned something new about Jess again, El Capitan. We learned that she was a child star on a Channel 10 show.
I really thought I
Young
escaped
Jess
this.
from the
We moved on
TikToks
from
and
me.
science presenter, Jess MacPherson, never ceases to amaze me. Science presenter. I didn't know we had a science presenter on the show.
Yeah, I went to nerd school. I went to the Australian Science and Mathematics School. So I did a lot of, and because I was like a confident nerd, I got, put in for all sorts of shit. I loved it.
So good. Well
That
done,
is
El
awesome.
Capitan. Yep.
Awesome work.
Now, Nigel, some big news out of Victoria.
Huge news out of Victoria, actually. This one was an awesome one that we got to get involved with through work, through the Smart Energy Council, because we helped the Victorian government pull together some details and launch a webinar for them. We'll run a webinar for them to launch a new upfront rebate in Victoria, but it's particularly targeted at commercial and industrial rooftop sector. It's through the Victorian Energy Upgrades Program, and the access to the funds have always been there, but it's had a really long and fairly arduous process and involved lots of metering and reporting and and so it took a year and a half to get your money typically. What the Vic government have done, and part of this is through our encouragement, because we're really trying to stimulate the commercial and industrial rooftop sector at the moment, really know that those guys need some support to get that sector back up and going after the lull that came off the back of COVID, right, with low tenancy rates in commercial. So it's been really hard for that sector. So yeah, fantastic announcement. It works out to about $35,000 on a 200 kilowatt system that you get as an upfront discount for eligible sites. It's
That
targeted.
covers the panels, right?
Well, yeah.
Panels
Arguably.
for commercial, 16, 17 cents a watt. Seems
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, there you go.
Free
There you go.
panels, 200 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out. That's
Happy
crazy.
days. So good, right?
That's
So good.
awesome.
And they were pretty ready. They were pretty organised. There's a little bit of groundwork to do before the money will start flowing. But if you're a commercial operator in Victoria, you want to be all over this. It's fantastic.
So when
Is
does
it,
it launch, Nigel?
I'm sorry.
Look, the only real delay for launch is that currently there's 4 providers, I forget what they call them, but basically four brokers who can do the Victorian energy upgrades. There's a limited number because it has been huge. And what they have to do is those 4 current participants and any new participants have to go through a little training and accreditation program so that they know how to deliver that program properly. Once that's done, which they reckon will probably take about a month, then things should start to flow. So, basically from next month.
Very good.
Awesome.
Is it
Yeah.
subject to scaling down like some of our other schemes, like on the calendar year kind of thing? Just these commercial jobs can take a while to come together and get through their boards and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the energy upgrade scheme and this Victorian building one is no different. Yeah, the price can vary a little bit for what the certificates are worth, and I actually saw something online the other day saying they dropped a bid in response, or that they might come back up a bit. So, there will be a variable nature to it, but there's still a chunk of money. Still,
Yeah,
as
the
Karl said,
VAU
enough to
has-
pay for the panels almost.
The VEU's already chipped in 1.3 billion to energy upgrades, efficiency upgrades in Victoria, and then Solar Victoria's chipped in another 500 million. So between the two, we've already spent a couple of $1 billion in Victoria. It kind of makes the battery rebate look a bit light. We've already spent 2.3 billion.
There you go. There you go. It's worth mentioning when you mention batteries. This is in addition to any battery rebate that the property might be eligible for, or LGCs or SDCs. So it's additive. It's not in place of. So as long as you're eligible for those other things, you can get them too.
I need a bigger house, Nigel. I'll buy the block next door and we'll put in some some panels on frames.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what else was fun. I got interviewed by PV Tech magazine last week, which actually came out this week. And geez, it was fun because when you talk to someone, he's looking after the Australian arm of PV Tech, but he was not from Australia originally. And so, yeah, for him to get he had some really good questions for me. Hey, they were really excellent questions that sort of dug into 5 or 6 different aspects of the market. And you know, when you have to sum up what's going on in Australia, and where it is relative to the rest of the world, you kind of realise that we're the canary in the coal mine. We're doing stuff that other countries haven't done before. We're doing things at scale that other countries haven't done before. We're doing things with tech that other countries haven't done before. We've got, you know, dynamic and backstop control where most other countries don't have that level of centralised control for the benefit of the network. We're really, really, really are ahead of the curve, and you know that's our expertise. That's this industry's expertise. Well done, all you clever folks.
And we're seeing that online. So any M-Watch and such, we're seeing in Victoria 75% renewables, which kind of been capped at 70% for a long time. So that tells me that someone's taken a brave pill and shut something down that they wouldn't have shut down before, and we've got another 5% that's regularly turning up on the grid in terms of renewables, and it's driving the costs down a lot. So we're seeing -1, -2 cents almost all the time. Dinner time yesterday, it was -7 cents. So I feel for those people that have bought a battery to make money exporting at dinner time because it's still cheap.
I don't know, mate. Here on our side of the fence, we're getting pretty good tariffs. It's not too bad over here.
There you go.
South Australia's
moving
always so
down
special.
Now, moving down to Tasmania, a curious case in the last week. Our friend George down there, Tassie man, what is it? Tassie Solar Man George.
Yeah,
he had a
Tassie
visit.
Solar Guy.
Tassie Solar Guy. Sorry, George. He had a visit by some engineers from SIG Energy, which I found interesting. So apparently there's some things to teething problems, I'll put it down to, and certain things, but they've sent out some engineers into the field, into Tasmania, to go around with George and to sort out some issues. What do you think of that, guys?
I'll jump in. If you don't read the instructions and you're shifting 10 kilowatts single phase, shit melts. There you go. Probably not a manufacturer fuck up, probably an installer fuck up. And at the end of the day, when you're running around trying to smash in 2 batteries a day and you cut a couple of corners, shit melts. You know, have to be careful. You know, 10
George is a
kilowatts on
good
single phase is
operator.
a lot.
Human beings make a mistake.
Yeah, look, someone's
George
made a
is-
mistake. Otherwise,
yeah.
it wouldn't have melted.
Yep, that's right. And I don't know the specifics about George's case, but I have seen some other scuttlebutt and background around this issue. And, they were rightly saying, look, it wasn't necessarily 100%, but virtually every case that we've seen, we've identified a problem, either with the cable size or with the cable termination or not following the instructions specifically. You know, in fairness to the installers, a technical expert that I know reviewed the instructions and said, look, you could potentially misinterpret this a little bit if you weren't, you know, really investing heavily in it and talking to some of their experts and stuff. So maybe a bit of a communication challenge there that can be overcome. You know, I know SIG are working really hard to get on the front foot, and I think the inspections, as painful as they are for George, demonstrates that they're trying really hard. As you would expect, there's a lot of SIG out there, and they want to get on top of this pretty quickly. But they seem to be moving very, very fast.
Well, they're moving, and that's the important thing. They're boots on the ground. They're doing something
really
because there's a whole lot of new entrants into the market. And there's possibly a whole bunch of other issues that are product related that we're not seeing just because they're not a big enough scale. We're in the first 6 months of the scheme. We've got 10 years to run. Yeah. So potentially at the 2-year, 3-year, 4-year mark, it could get interesting. So
look, at the end of the day, whilst I mentioned that the price on the grid was -7 cents there at dinner time, it was +7 cents 15 minutes later. So all of a sudden, if I'm smashing 10 kilowatts in and I'm pulling 10 kilowatts out, you know, I'm pushing the hardware pretty hard.
You're eating dinner pretty fast if 7 minutes is the...
5 minutes. So we're trading 5-minute intervals, right? So 5 minutes apart, it goes from -7 to +7. But, you know, if I'm, you know, actually moving power in at a decent clip and I'm running that inverter hard for a long time, it's not like just having a solar system that make some power in the middle of the day. It's got the potential to move a lot more kilowatt hours.
Yep.
Melt things.
I can't wait for this. I got the go-ahead from the landlord and
Giuseppe.
the agent. Thank you, Giuseppe. And I just
Gonna
went
put
back.
a cheeky cig in there, Nigel?
I went back to him. No, I'm not going to say who it is, but I did go back and unfortunately I can't do a heat pump because my hot water system is indoors, and I've realised there is no easy way for me to solve that, and I don't want to refrigerate the lower half of my house. Great advice from the technical expert that you sent me. Thank you, Karl. But unfortunately I can't do it, and so I kind of went, well, okay, what do I do as a renter? And I went, that's easy, double the size of the solar. So I'm going completely covering the north face, completely covering the south face, and upping the battery capacity. So
you
I'm
had
gonna
that
do
much
double
shit in your
batteries.
garage, Nige.
No, I'm going all new, mate. All new. I'm recycling. The other stuff's going through our recycling and stewardship team. Luckily, they've said, don't worry, we'll fix it. We'll take the old stuff. We'll get that recycled for you. And I've been talking to a couple of good people and a couple of good friends and saying I want to smother my whole roof. I've had an installer around. He's done an inspection. I'm on the move and talking to everyone, so I can't wait. But it was really interesting because, and I highlighted this in that interview actually, that, you know, even as a renter, and sure, I'm going to get my friends are going to help me, but even as a renter, it is worth the punt for 2 years, because at today's prices, I'm going to be paying probably $6,000 to $8,000 a year in electricity costs. So I've only got to recoup 16 grand, right? So then at the end of my 2 year lease, I go, listen, Giuseppe, you want it? $1,000, $5,000, 10,000.
That's a lot of Ks on the live wire, Nige. You must be getting out a lot more.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
$5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of power bills. Come on, mate.
No. Electric
This
hot
is a
water,
mansion
mate.
that you've moved into.
No, absolutely
You're
not,
keeping
Karl.
it quiet.
It's an
You've got
average
15
house.
bedrooms.
I'm going off. This is directly off my previous power bills. Virtually the same situation. Constant electric hot water with a big household of teenage boys and whatnot. Just getting smashed on electric
I'm
hot
with you
water.
there, Nige. Lots
That's
of people
30
have
to
bills
40%.
that much, and
mate.
more, and more. Easy.
Electric stove. Air fryer. It's an all-electric home, right? It's an all-electric home, and the
As soon
live
as you
wire
have
gets a bit of charging.
multi-stories and
Yeah,
a reverse cycle
2 stories.
in there. Yeah.
I got no big loads, but it's 70 cents a kilowatt hour, Karl. It doesn't take much.
Really?
Really?
Come on, 70 cents.
Yeah, mate.
70 cents peak. I'm on TOU. I'm 70.
Wow.
I'm 40. What was the shoulder? I think the shoulder was 43, and then I'm 20 something on off peak, right? And I was on flat 35 at the old place, so it's going to be worse here. So
Yeah, wow.
So
That's
as a
huge.
renter, 2 year payback, no worries.
Yeah, that makes a lot
Thank
of
you very
look.
much.
70 cents makes batteries stack up really well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I reckon you need 50 to make batteries stack up. Canberra's at 34 cents flat rate. You're like,
Yeah.
Now,
There you go.
speaking of electrification, I was at the airport the other day and picked up Saul Griffith's latest book, which is Plug In, the Electrification Handbook. And I just thumbed through it, found the hot water section, and there's a subchapter on our friend Karl Jensen.
Ooh.
that cost me $25, that message you sent me, Luke. I had to go and buy a copy.
So I sent a message, and it talks about your passion, talks about what you're up to, mentions the podcast, and recently you did a podcast with Saul around
Yes.
heat pumps, and that's worth. We'll put the link in the show notes because it's worth watching.
Link in the show notes, please, editor.
Really enjoyed that one. That went
yes.
for an hour and a half. We sort of started out as being a 45-minute podcast. An hour and a half later, we were still yabbering. But there's some great content there. I listened to it last week and I just thought, wow, that's 15 years blurted out in an hour and a half.
Yeah, very good. And coming up in a couple of weeks is All Energy in Melbourne. So look forward to catching up with everyone there at the show to see what's new, to catch up with old friends, to get around the networking events.
What's the best party? What's the best party?
Yeah, what is the best party? Send your invites to our contact.
Someone's having a retirement party, Nigel.
There is a retirement party for our old friend. I should say old.
Kathleen.
She looks
Kathleen, yes.
Ryan.
Chicken
That's Tuesday morning?
Very exclusive breakfast invite. It's the best way to start the show. No, it's Wednesday morning. It's
Wednesday morning. Right.
Yeah. Is it Wednesday?
I got
or
an
Thursday?
invite,
I've got to
Scott.
know.
It's
I can't
Wednesday
remember.
morning,
It's Wednesday
yes.
morning.
Wednesday
Yeah.
morning.
I had a bit of a brainwave around All Energy. while I was still at iStore, I was suggesting we should get a heat pump mascot because Fronius has a mascot. You get all these mascots. And I thought a heat pump with the arms coming out. And I suggested it's like a naughty suit. So anyone who's late to the show, who misbehaves at networking or any other thing, throw them in the naughty suit.
Every hungover sales rep BDM known to
Just stick
man
Karl in it straight
in a
away.
foam suit for
Next
3-hour shifts. I love
foam
it.
suit person crash tackling someone out the front of the stand. Yeah.
Anyway, look forward to catching up with everyone. And we were talking about Akai in the last couple of episodes. Akai's doing stuff with Bunnings and others, and I think Audi. And I went to their website, and they still list CD players, record players, and VCRs as current product lines. So Back to the Future, or you can get their solar and batteries on your house.
Wow. That's I don't know if that's.
It's like when you find out that
winning
like Samsung
formula.
makes hand sanitizer or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like these like big companies that just do like random other, like these big electronic companies that make like tanks and whatever. And you're just trying to figure out why they're doing all of these things.
Anyway, we should move on with our guest. So our guest today is Andrew Mitchell, or Mitch as we all know him. He's the Senior Product Manager at Franklin WH. Formerly was at Enphase for more than 10 years. And his question before we started here, because he got such late notice to come on, i.e. yesterday, he said, who was plan A? I must be plan B. And the response was, no, we're actually just that disorganized. So welcome to the podcast, Mitch.
Thank you very much, Luke. Pleased to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for making yourself available at such short notice.
Yeah, you're a handsome plan B, Mitch.
Thanks, Nigel. I'm actually on the road, and I'm at my childhood home. I visited my parents after a little road trip to Mansfield yesterday. So, I'm in the beautiful surrounds.
Got the baby
of
photos in the back
Ranges.
there somewhere.
Yeah, is that your old bedroom?
It's my brother's bedroom.
Your
I'll
brother's
say
old bed. That's awesome.
That could have gone one of two ways. Like I just broke into the house where I used to live.
Seems like no one's here. So anyway, Mitch, for those who don't know you, do you just want to give a brief about your journey in the industry and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, sure. So 16 years ago, I was lucky enough to be given an opportunity to work for a very small Australian company who was designing power electronics and building solar battery diesel microgrids in Southeast Asia. So I moved to Kuala Lumpur for a couple of years and worked on many projects as part of the Thousand Islands rural electrification program that the Indonesian government was sponsoring. And I cut my teeth learning such a broad range of skills, from designing power electronics to building power stations, project management, stakeholder management, and just had a fantastic adventure, seeing things go from concept stage, planning stage, delivery, and then the best part, of course, flicking the switch and seeing these communities that had never had electrical energy or power before just thrive and enjoy what technology could deliver. So that was such an amazing experience.
That's awesome. We could start a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
I'd
fantastic.
love to. Yeah. I'd love to do it again. It was such a cool way to deploy the technology that we all have spent time developing. And then on the flip side, I moved back to Melbourne. I was looking for my next gig, and Enphase was a new market entrant. So I joined them, and the team was great. I loved the American energy. I really enjoyed joining that American company. And then I thought, hang on, but this is all a bit boring, grid-tied rooftop solar. There's not much design. There's, everyone's got electricity anyway. So I just changed tact and sought challenges in the product development side, working with world-class engineers, and Enphase had some brilliant staff and innovated some fantastic technology. So that was a different adventure, but equally fulfilling. And as Luke said, I did spend 10 years there and worked on some wonderful products. And I actually remember, Nigel, back in, I think it was 2016, Raghu delivered you the prototype of the Enphase AC battery. And I remember a photo of you like pretending to run home with it. But we've come such a long way since then in terms of technology and what battery storage can do. But it's nice to reflect on these moments
You know, Karl
So
did
that,
run
yeah, I
home.
ran-
Karl did run home with the
I had
batteries.
3 of those. So I was the guinea pig for Enphase developing their 3-phase software, and I had one sitting on each phase. And whilst it took 6 months for them to get it to work, I only had 3.3 kilowatt hours worth of storage. Excuse me, that wiped out my peak rate power bill. It was perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. Was that in Perth?
Yep.
Yeah, I went to your house. I remember. Yeah. You had a curry tree. Curry leaf tree.
At the end of the day, you know, the industry's gone completely nuts with this battery rebate and people saying, "Oh, I need 40 kilowatt hours." Like, what the fuck for? Crazy.
Exactly.
I started out with one of those under my house as well, which then it turned into 2 or 3. I remember I got a great photo somewhere, Mitch, because I had it under the house in the old bunker. You guys remember the bunker where I used to record at my earlier shows, and I had it under the house there. My son sort of extricated himself to there, being a teenage boy for a year or so, and I went down there one day, and I went, "Something's different. What's different?" And I went, "What's that box? There's a cardboard box stuck to the wall." And I took this box off, and it was over the battery. And I realised that he duct taped a cardboard box over the Enphase battery. And I went ballistic and said, "What are you thinking, you idiot?" And he said, "Oh, the blue light. The blue light was driving me mad overnight, and I couldn't sleep, and it pulses." So he said, "I realised after a few weeks under here that I was going a bit mad, and it was all because of that flashing blue light. So I just put a box over it, Dad." I said, "You idiot."
You idiot. There's a 4-pin connector. Just unplug it, mate. Come on.
So anyway, so you're at Enphase. The batteries have launched.
Yeah, so
and
I've got
you're
to
on the-
I've got to continue the story.
Oh,
So Franklin
please.
WH was my next journey. So I actually I took long service leave and came back, wanted a fresh start, and Steve gave me a call early last year and said, "Yeah, we've got new to the market, great tech, great people." So I went up to Smart Energy early last year, met Gary, the CEO. He gave me the vision, and I thought, this is really cool. You know, fresh team, fresh ideas, trying to disrupt the market with some cool tech. So I
Couldn't pick
I
a better
joined-
time for it, mate.
It was, yeah, it was pretty serendipitous in that sense.
But at that point in time,
American-
it was tough to launch at that point in time. I remember chatting to Steve Ruskin, and I think it was a perfect fit for him to go across. But Franklin had this massive marketing budget, the big stand, and everything happening. But at that point in time, it was all about the incumbents. So it was Tesla, Sungrow, GrowWatt, and all those were there. And it was sort of Franklin there putting the hand up saying, "Hey, we've got a really good solution here with applications." And at the time, I mean, there was a lot of toil, but it was hard to get the attention of the market, it seems.
Correct. Yeah, it was difficult. It's hard to translate a North American value proposition to Australia, and I've lived that for many, many years. It takes, you know, the features and the strengths of a product are there, but it's perhaps the value, you know, the cost to build those features in is hard for consumers in Australia to justify. And often retailers in this space don't, you know, because they're going up against 3 other quotes, and it's so price sensitive that everyone sort of goes, "Oh, well, you know, the customer's not going to get value out of whole home backup because the grid never goes out." That's just a simple example of it, but it does, you know, on the whole regulatory side, there's other parts to, you know, what value do you put on safety, and you know, you could argue that for an eternity, but things like that are difficult to translate to a market where we've historically had very, very affordable solutions that may not deliver features and safety and so forth.
So how hard has the compliance piece been then to get your products compliant? You know, first of all, you've got the CEC, the different networks, and how have you found that?
Well, thankfully, because as a product manager, I love developing products, and I find it very taxing on my mind to deal with the compliance journeys. So thankfully, in the past...
You need special people to do that work.
That was so courteous, Mitch. That was so courteous.
This is a
I've
gloves
had-
off podcast.
Yeah, I feel
Mitch.
like
You
there was
can-
something under that statement.
Don't hold back.
I've had conversations with regulatory experts and ask them a question, and they will answer me yes and no. And I just can't. I can't handle that.
Can't abide it.
But to answer your question, thankfully, when I joined Franklin, our single SKU, and we only have one SKU, that's part of our value proposition, we keep things simple, was already listed. So the team had already done the hard work there with the CUC listing. But to answer the second part of your question, which is the DNSP side, obviously that's a little bit more difficult. We have 16 of them operating in Australia, and while everyone's striving towards the common smart inverter profile, it's practically it's not that simple. So we've had some difficulties as an AC coupled product, where a lot of these frameworks are designed for DC coupled. So in some senses, it's made life easy. We just are somewhat exempt from certain things, but at the same time, we also have disadvantages because we can't get enough inverter capacity to compete with the DC coupled solution. So that's a forever challenge, I think, and the industry is broadly working towards a solution with the new CSIP, which should come out next year. That's not my favourite part of my job, but it's definitely a necessary part, and thankfully it's been not too bad to date.
Well, I hear out on the vine, Mitch, the feedback from industry is that the software is better than Tesla, and I sort of raised an eyebrow and said, "Come on, obviously the Powerwall software is the industry benchmark. It works really well. Everybody's copied it. Everybody's copied the image of their house and so on and so forth. And everybody's stuff looks like Tesla. How can it be better?" But that's a huge accolade, and something that you guys should be really proud of. That the software is great, because a lot of these inexpensive, cheap crap batteries that are new to market, the software is rubbish. And whilst I'm sure they're going to get better over time, and even our product, the iStore, our software gets better every other day. We just launched the EV charger, which ramps up and down with the inverter. It didn't do that before. It was just a dumb EV charger. It's a lot of programming, a lot of time, a lot of effort to get this stuff up and going. And hence, in the words of the boss, to catch a rocket, you've still got to launch a rocket. So you've got to get something out there and get it working. But your gear works great.
So why don't you tell us, give us a brief pitch on the Franklin solution, what it does, and what the benefits are for both installers and consumers.
Yeah, sure. So I touched on it earlier, the simplicity side, so single SKU, AC coupled, but also the versatility. So I like to say that we provide installers the tools to deliver great solutions, because we all know not every customer's got the same needs, but this industry has traditionally delivered the same solutions to every customer because it's easy to do. But we don't feel that that's the right thing to do. So by offering all-in-one AC coupled energy storage alongside a 80 amp whole home backup gateway with ports for any solar, so any third-party generation source. It doesn't even have to be solar, to be honest. So any generation, the batteries connect in there as well. Your grid supply, your backup, your non-backup, if you choose to do so, some smart circuits, so load control, as well as the ability to connect a generator set. So the design spec was born out of North America, where long duration outages have been the customer's biggest problem they're trying to solve. So the whole home backup coupled with the ability to add that generator set for an extra level of redundancy during prolonged outages with low solar irradiance gives you a really robust solution and allows the installer to not only retrofit, and that's another big piece of it. You can go to your customers and say, "Look, I sold you a fantastic solar system 2 years ago for $10,000. Here you can add this battery system, which doesn't care what you've already got, and will work beautifully. Not only will it work while it's on grid, energy arbitrage, but it will also harvest that solar while off grid and allow you to do black start as well." So it allows installers to offer that level of solution Whereas, you know, a lot of, and I think it came up on this podcast previously, the simplest way to sell someone a battery and claim the SGCs and give them something they can talk about is just to throw everything they've got away and just whack on a DC system. So to me, that's not the right thing to do. So that's why I really like the Franklin's philosophy of being flexible and allowing the installer to choose what to provide their customer.
Because it's not even about, you know, 3 and 4 year old systems that had string inverters installed. Even take, for example, the Fronius snap inverters. Absolute workhorses, they'll last for years and years. And people who had snap inverters installed can expect they're going to get at least 10 years out of it, and probably a lot longer than that. I know that speaking to Shane Arnold, he said that the reserva battery will be able to be installed with snaps AC coupled, which is a good thing. But coming back to it, there's a lot of these. That's one example, plenty of others where it's been removed and put aside when it's been operating fine and it should be lasting for a whole lot longer. So that's why I like AC coupled solutions. I know, Karl, you've got an opinion on, you know, loss of efficiency and so on, but just high level, mate, I think it's good if we're not throwing shit into landfill or sending it to recycling before we should.
Look, at the end of the day, I didn't have a choice. AC coupled was the only way my system was going to work, simply because I wasn't going to throw away $5,500 worth of inverters, and putting in a hybrid that matched the two 10 kilowatt SIMOs that I've got is actually quite difficult. Would have need to have basically reconfigured my arrays from sub 600 volts to over 600 volts to get everything to work. And ultimately, I really didn't want to pull up 70 panels. You know, it's a lot of work. So it's not something that I could do myself. I'm second story and all the rest of it. And paying someone to basically uninstall my entire system and reinstall it, just not on the cards.
And that's probably a little bit outside of the average situation, the average way up, right? But I think, you know, to Luke's point, there's a lot of people who have invested in really good quality kit, and they get the impression from the market that their only option is to rip it out and start over, or at least replace their inverter. And I find it really heartbreaking. Like, I just think it's a massive downgrade for a lot of people to go from, say, a Fronius Snap is a perfect example, to something that's, you know, a bit cheap and cheerful, but it's DC coupling to some, yeah, sure. We can, you know, we can put some rhymes in here. We can
Neo Volt.
For sure, 100%. And I just find that really tragic. And, you know, it is probably cheaper to a customer's upfront pocket, but it's definitely not a good long-term solution. Actually, to pivot a little bit, what do you feel like is next for Franklin in terms of, like, are you guys on the integration train, VPPs? What's the next thing for Franklin?
We are indeed. We feel that's an integral part of a solution offering.
Because of how many times I've emailed Josh about it, or because of something else?
I mean, my job is to listen to you guys and work with our engineers to deliver. So that, like, we can joke about it, but I love to hear that stuff, right? That's what we're here for. So we are doing some testing with Origin in the next few weeks, and hope to have some good news by All Energy, and also with Amber as well. So with those two offerings in the pipeline, we're pretty happy about that.
I'll tell you, I'll give you some more feedback, Mitch, because when my installer came round, shout out to Chris Pond from Sydney Solar Electricity, fantastic local guy who's helped me out. I worked out this will be my fourth rental that Chris has actually helped me cajole some stuff in. But I had a chat with him and I said, let's talk about limits and export limits and all that kind of stuff. And he went, but Osgrid, you're in the Osgrid. Okay. So you can put 5 kilowatts on, no worries at all. But if you want to put 10 on, which you want to put 13 on, I can fit 13 and a half on the roof at least. He said, you need to probably sign up for a VPP, in which case Osgrid will let you add 10 kilowatts on this single phase home of yours. And I went, well, of course that's what I'm going to do. The panels are of course I want 10. Stitch me up for that. How do I do that? And so that pushes me straight.
Do they make you stay on the VPP, sorry, Nige? Or do they just make you sign up initially?
I don't think they've worked that out, Jess.
Interesting.
Not the science
Don't
show.
worry about that. Be
It's
fine.
not the science show at Osgrid.
I only ask because reps you only need to join.
big shout out,
like
Osgrid are
people
awesome.
join and leave quite a bit, and I just wonder if it's the same.
Yeah.
And like
No.
Origin and Amber both don't have lock-in periods, so
Look,
it's a pretty good sell.
don't start me on the working groups that I've been involved with on CSIP and all the different bodies that are emerging to try and coordinate everything that's going on with CSIP. There are actually multiple bodies. There are 2 new bodies that I learned about this week that are exclusively dedicated to CSIP protocols in various different ways. And I had a call from an old colleague yesterday who said, oh, we've got another organisation as well. So there's so many people trying to solve that problem. But I tell you, real world, real simple, the panels are cheap. I need lots of solar to suit my home's load. I need VPP compatibility to be able to do what I want to do as a punter. And so it's a really important thing. And I can tell you from some of the conversations I've been fortunate enough to be involved with, the feds really want it because the feds look at it really simply and just go, you know what? If we can aggregate and centralise the control of all these rebated batteries, we actually create a support mechanism at a societal level, at a community level for the NEM.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. But
And
so,
it's just a no-brainer to them, and it's simple to understand, and it's simple to absorb, and it's simple to regulate relatively. So they just go, for want of something else, VPP sounds really important to
well,
us.
you're, you're on that committee, Nige, for CSIP New South Wales, yeah?
I'm on a working group, yes.
Yeah,
I am.
that working group. One of the participants in that working group said that the cost of CSIP in Victoria for installers is somewhere between $400 and $500 a system in admin and mucking around going to site.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So it's a big deal, right? It's not to be looked on lightly. There's a lot of work involved. Going back to site when things don't work and admin, paperwork, whatever. So it's a big commitment to do this stuff.
It is. It's got to be done well, and it's technically complex, and it's new.
A relevant
And
quote
it's
this
expensive.
week.
It's expensive as a result, right? Time is money.
Time is money.
A relevant quote this week was from the CEO of Reposit Power, Dean, who criticised the cheaper home battery scheme as a colossal wasted opportunity because only 4 to 5% of participants will be going on a VPP. So do we agree with this?
Absolutely.
Ooh,
Yep.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Be
I'm a
careful
big
what you
fan,
wish for, though. Be careful what you wish
particularly
for, though.
WA, the feed-in tariff that you get from dumping your battery to the grid, 70 cents a kilowatt hour. I think 70 cents is a great number, and to get $1,300 to join up, I think that's fantastic, and that changes the economics of your battery out of sight.
As long as it doesn't cost you more than $1,300 to be compliant, Karl, and that's the challenge we have in WA.
Well, manufacturers have had to wear that, right? So,
Well, they're passing it along in one way or another. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
technically complicated
interested-
in WA.
I'm very interested to hear Mitch's side of things because I think it's a very different perspective. But going from the experience of when we had the Tesla Energy program, which is just recently finished, as we touched on, the big issue that we ended up having was that we were doing tech support for a VPP. Really, like we had a lot of people who were
Such a
really
good point, Jess.
and it's counterintuitive for a customer for their battery to not be charging when the price is, the price, because, your AGLs and your Origins and your people running these VPPs are making a shit ton off of it. And good for, fine. And skeptically, I'd argue that's probably why the government is keen on people being on VPPs and their mates are making heaps of it. And, I do agree with the benefits that it gives the grid as well. But I do think that here or there, customers are in front. I think a lot of the time they find it incredibly frustrating because there's no visibility and they don't know what's going on, and all they can tell, all they think is their battery isn't working, and they're going to call you about it because they're not going to get on to anyone from their retailer who's going to know what's going on. They're going to call you. And, I don't want to be too negative about it. I recommend a lot of people towards using these programs to get the extra incentives we have here in SA. But mostly because I know they can just tap out of it anytime if they want to. So that's my
Look,
two
my
cents.
objection previously has been that they just don't offer enough money. So by the time I take that money out of my mortgage and I math it out backwards, my warranted cost per kilowatt hour for any decent kind of battery is 40 cents. So if the VPP is offering 25, you can stick it up your ass. It's not enough money. I'll keep it for myself. If it's 70 cents and I'm going to make some money, by all means, let's go. But yeah, so
What
far.
does it look like for you guys, Mitch? How do you guys think about the VPP side of
Well,
things?
yeah, so we aren't active in any VPPs in Australia to date, so I can't speak to the service side of things. But I am very aware of the point that Karl just made, and our solution has a 12-year warranty, which is one of our unique selling points. It's long, so we pitch the long-term view of peace of mind. You've got uninterruptible power for the long term, and it's basic physics that thrashing your battery to make a few cents or lose cents, which is, it depends on
absolutely.
the maths. It goes either way. It compromises the lifetime of your battery, right? Because the longer you run it at a higher rate, it shortens its lifetime, and the more you run throughput, it shortens its lifetime. So I personally feel that VPPs are good for a few, but not the masses. And obviously, the more people that enroll, the value dilutes anyway. So I agree with everyone that we need to leverage the value of these assets for the greater good. And it's interesting to observe the United States versus Europe. The United States, people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to secure their home against outages. There's very little social element to that. And then Europe's the other way, because they don't really have the outages in the same way, but the peer-to-peer sharing and that philosophy is entirely different. And I think Australia hasn't really chosen which way it's going to go. But it would be sad if we couldn't exploit these assets for the greater good. And let's face it, a lot of people can't access these programs, and that is a failing of a program. If only the few, if only part of society can benefit, it ultimately will have a negative impact on those that can't. So we need to start figure out how to make it deliver more. Yeah.
You sure we aren't protecting people from themselves? At the end of the day, you go, fuck, I can make 20 cents. I can make 20 cents. And you're like, mate, it's costing you 40. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I can make 20 cents right now.
Yeah. I wish one of the industry's biggest challenges is just literacy. And the people buying our products have a very low level of appreciation for how they work, what they can deliver, and the people selling them don't have a much greater appreciation. So it's
All right, mate. All right.
Shout out to all the salespeople in the industry.
Advanced maths,
a bit tongue in cheek, but
Well, it varies greatly, right? To be fair, there's so many
I
good
feel like on
informed
average that
salespeople
Mitch
out
is
there.
correct.
Yeah, plenty of people out there that know what they're selling and they're hungry for more information, and their companies make sure they're across what they need to be. And then there's plenty of others who don't.
Yeah, well, hey, Mitch, what's a Franklin worth installed for an end user? Ballpark? 10, 12,
Today-
15, 20? Sorry?
today, today post rebate, and
Yep.
post SDCs, it'd be around 11 to 12 installed.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So, look, by the time you math that out, it turns into a lot of coin. It's in that 40, 45 cents a kilowatt hour category, which is premium end of the market. No getting past it. It's premium gear. And, at the end of the day, customers got to get good value out of it, like Nige, where he's paying 70 cents a kilowatt hour. So happy days. It's all good. He's just got to use it at peak time.
That's right.
And shoulder. Shoulder's going to be okay.
That's
too.
right. Yeah. So smart control becomes critical for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Turns out Mitch, Nigel needs a friend.
Well, I need VPP though, Mitch. You see, I was.
No,
you
you don't.
had me. You had
Stuff-
me. I was going. Oh, hang on, that might be good.
Maybe stuff for VPP. Just look after yourself, Nigel. Fuck everybody
I
else.
like that. No, it's really interesting actually to look at it as a purely from a consumer. Don't have any time to spend on it, blah, blah, blah. Wish I had, and I'm just sort of scrapping around looking at different products at the moment and jumping in and going, oh, can this do that? And I want to control the hot water system, and I got this stupid thing, and blah, blah, and I've got an EV charger that I might want to use occasionally, and I'll probably want to take it off grid one day, so give me the works, and I need VPP. So, it's really interesting to try and navigate all the different products out there and go, which one does all these things that I want, and is supported well and all those kinds of things. So yeah, it's hard.
What's with whisper in this episode? I did catch up with the.
Doesn't work for me. Doesn't work. Do you want me to tell you why?
Yeah, go on. Tell us. Yeah.
Real simple proposition for me.
Yeah.
Panels are going to go on the top of the 2-story roof. There's going to be a cable that comes down the bottom. I want to do minimal impact to this building. I want it to be easy to pull out. So an all-in-one box. Very nice. Very nice. One box on a concrete plinth. Priced them up from Bunnings today for an AC concrete plinth to go, down the
so you
side
lose
of
a
the
lot
house.
of features by being all in one box in that you basically
Do
kiss
I?
goodbye to a lot of your
What?
natural cooling, and all of a sudden you need fans to make the thing work.
Nah, southern side of the house, sea breeze. All good. No problem.
Sure. Powerwall 3 for Nigel. Yeah. Go to Powerwall 3.
Powerwall? No, I wouldn't be allowed to.
Why not?
Oh, nothing Elon in this house, mate.
Oh.
Claire would.
I thought you were
Claire
talking
would-
regulatory or something.
She would
like,
literally crochet a cover saying "fuck you, Elon," and insist on putting it over the top of it
is
at
this something
minimum.
you're going to need to cut from the episode, Nigel?
No.
Leave it in.
So
It's
that
just my
leaves you
wife's
with,
view. I'm just saying.
That unfortunately leaves you with a whole pile of interesting, dubious new entrants to market. You can be a guinea pig, Nigel.
No, I've got a couple in mind.
I got another one for
Anyway.
Mitch, if I may.
Oh, Mitch is here. That's right. We've got a guest.
Sorry, Mitch. Sorry.
It's all right. I'm here to keep the boat on track or whatever
On you,
Luke
Jess.
put in the blurb. How do you guys deal with? And I sort of know because I've asked, but just for the benefit of the listeners, how do you guys deal with the 3-phase or people who really want 3-phase backup? What's your sort of thoughts, feelings?
Well, one of the downsides of being a North American company is that 3-phase is considered a different market segment. And so they're like, oh, for commercial. And like, no, for 11 years, I've been explaining to North Americans that in most of the world, not rest of the world, it's most of the world.
Where we do,
Like,
where Celsius and meters. And
yeah, our low voltage distribution is 3-phase, and a lot of homes are connected to 3-phase. So we have been working with our R&D team to deliver a similar. We don't want to change move away from our strengths. So similar form factor and topology for what we have today in a 3-phase format. So that's on our roadmap. The team's working hard on that. But today, and it's funny because 3-4 years ago, but maybe even 3 years ago, if you asked that question, most installers would say 3-phase backup. No, you don't need that. Like you'll suck your battery dry. And it's interesting how
just put a Powerwall on. Don't even stress about it.
Oh, hasn't that
exactly.
changed? That's an interesting point, isn't
it's
it?
interesting how customers' needs and technology are intertwined, and advances will unlock certain use cases, and then that becomes something that a couple will dabble in, and then it becomes mainstream. So that when you're a manufacturer investing in R&D, and it's a struggle for us to convince our companies to invest a lot of money in investing in products for most of the world. They're always reluctant because, especially if you're new to the market, your numbers aren't great. They don't have the confidence that it's going to return.
It's going to return, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's-
I had one the other day. So, friend of the show says, "Hey, Karl, can you bring down your EV and plug it in? We want to see if we can get the smoke to come out of this thing." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, we've got a 25 kilowatt 3-phase hybrid, and we've got a couple of EVSEs in the garage. We want to flick the grid off, and we want to see if we can melt it." Like, yeah, you need 9 kilowatts of phase to get this thing to shut down. It's a shit.
It sounds like a
power.
fun Friday
It's a
afternoon.
shitload of
That
power.
was very
What
differently,
an awesome
Karl.
bit of kit. At the end of the day, 25 kilowatt 3-phase inverters are $4,000. Shit.
It's an interesting point about 3-phase backup, though, because when the average battery size was 10, 11 kilowatt hours, you wouldn't want them to have whole-of-house backup for 3-phase because they would chew the battery quickly. But now the average battery size is 20 to 25 kilowatt hours. So there's a better case to be made for having three-phase backup.
Yeah, everyone needs
Agreed.
to charge 2 EVs, heat their hot water and cool or heat their house all at the same time, whilst roasting 2 chickens.
Yeah,
In the air fryer.
right in the air fryer.
But I think Mitch makes a really good point. Like, you know, in Australia, our grid security comparatively is pretty good. And so, you know, are we spending a lot of time just chasing our tails on something that isn't, like, you know, is going to come up? I often say to my customers, like, you know, when we start getting into the weeds of this, like, do you think that this is going to happen more than 1% of your battery's life? Because it's probably 0.001, right? Like, it's probably like right down there. And, you know, like, we should spend some time thinking about this. We should get it right. But how much time do you want to spend on 0.001% of your batteries?
And
life?
with short
that's probably
outages, what do you need? You want lights,
Yeah,
you want
for sure, your
TV,
fridge.
the fridge.
Agreed.
Internet.
And what's the first thing they flick on when you go into backup mode is the front lights. Just so the street
Yeah,
knows.
well, actually,
So the neighbours know. Yeah.
I have invented a new thing called V2P.
Do tell us, Karl.
Is this
Yeah,
safe for the
spit it out.
podcast?
It is indeed. It's called vehicle to park to walk the dog, or vehicle to pub, and everybody's got one. It's called a car. You just get in it and you drive down the pub. And at the end of the day, if backup was going to cost $2,000, you put that money in the bank, and that'll shout the family a meal, oysters, beers for the next decade. V2P. Heard it here first.
I'm just going to pay
They
that.
just keep coming
Don't
from
say
you,
VP
Karl.
to your
They just keep
customers.
coming.
It's good,
I
isn't
love
it? Hey, you've already got it. You've got it at your place, Nigel.
I'm just
Yeah, I
waiting
do.
for. I'm waiting for the streams and the presentations at All Energy V2P. Here we go. So, Mitch, just quickly before we go into a couple of other things, what sort of feedback are you getting from installers of the product in terms of any pain points or any challenges that they're finding?
Well, thankfully, very few pain points and challenges. I was somewhat, I'm not concerned, but I was aware that when July the 1st came, there would be a lot of installers on the tools in the field looking at this pallet going, what's this that's turned up? And because I've been through that before, where people, you know, the guys that are actually doing the work don't know what's been sold. They've missed the memo on the training and so forth. But thankfully, due to our simple architecture and some, you know, basic training tools that we have, there were no stuff ups. There were no people calling up, going, "What the hell is this?" So just, I think now, like, gateways is in everyone's vocabulary and wheelhouse these days. So that topology was similar enough to a lot of products that people had already done. And then a lot of the feedback was, "Oh, it's just like, you know what, but better." So fantastic. So it's been
And I suppose
great
it's got the
experience
weight.
for us.
More, but
It's
better.
also got the weight issues, as a lot of batteries do. So I think yours is around 150 or thereabouts. So you need, mechanical assistance. But this is a good point, jumping off a point that Karl made last episode, or the one before, where he was talking about a storeman who got injured moving batteries around, because you see the size of it, no one else here, move it, and they get injured. So I think if it's much heavier, you absolutely have to use a mechanical assistance. Whereas batteries that are 50 kilos, I think guys are more likely to go, "Nah, I've got this, I can handle this," and they're probably more likely to injure themselves, not the other way around.
Agreed. Yeah, because we're well in the ballpark where you're not even going to try to lift it. So we made a concerted effort to make our lifting dollies, which is a Franklin product designed to lift the battery onto the wall mount bracket, available at all our channel partners' warehouses for loan for the guys that were trying their first system, going through the onboarding. And then, of course, once they'd taken it on, adopted it, we obviously purchased them for their own kit. But we made sure that the first time experience, it was not through just the three-man lift.
Not using a
That's-
crowbar to get it into place. So that's
Yeah.
a good one.
That's such an interesting practical issue. And I was chatting with Chris when we were talking about my place, where I've got to get the batteries in and there's a bit of a sloping edge and it's kind of tricky. And he went, "Oh, my battery lifter is broken." And, a good battery lifter is thousands of dollars. And when you're busy, you're using that all the time and you're utterly, utterly reliant on that battery lifter. And I'd never really thought about what a critical piece of kit that's become for these guys. But, he was kind of going, my business doesn't work without an awesome battery lifter now, because I will kill people and I will break people if they don't have the right gear to get this stuff on the wall. And in Chris's case, he does fairly high-end stuff, so he's often doing multiple batteries. He's doing 3, 4, 5, 6 batteries in an install, and I'd never actually thought about that. And for me, it was a practical issue for me. Access. Can they use their panel lifter? Can they actually leverage this thing up onto the wall for me? And that's not necessarily easy. Can I jump in while I've got the mic? Because I had 2 questions I wanted to ask Mitch about. Number one, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we work on in the background, of course, at the Smart Energy Council, and one of them has been these standards change that have been talked about, that have some very serious consequences or potential consequences because they change the sort of form function stuff around some products. Has that negatively affected you?
Thankfully, it has not, because our all-in-one architecture is not exposed to those changes. But just to make a comment on that, it's interesting to look back and acknowledge that we're in 2025, we've installed hundreds of thousands of batteries, and we have not had a battery product standard. We've had a battery installation standard in lieu, and you walk around All Energy and you see how many hundreds of products there are that you can purchase, install, and the 5139 guideline is very robust and covers off everything in the absence of a product safety standard. So it would be nice to mature to a point where you can place more faith in the product and take some liability away from the installers, or at least free them from all the constraints they have to employ because we can't trust the batteries. So I think it's great that that's come, acknowledging the fact that it's never good to introduce it and go, hey, we've got a new standard. It's going to take time, and hardware, product development, hardware projects can take years. So these things should be given grace periods. But thankfully, our current product is not affected by that, and our next gen of products will we'll obviously refer to.
You're ready for it, yeah. And while I've got you on that same topic, just so everyone is aware, we are currently running a survey. We mailed it out to a bunch of people who we identified as manufacturers from the Smart Energy Council. I hope you guys might have got it as well. But we have actually been collecting evidence around the effectiveness and the efficiency of the product approval process right now. We've had a lot of members come to us and say, this is taking too long, it's costing too much, and we have been tasked with providing, we've gone out to our members, actually, to our manufacturing members, and said, if you have evidence of this process not working, let us help you. We will take that evidence to the Clean Energy Regulator and do our damnedest to make sure that process is working well, that it's not unduly expensive, and that it is done in an expedient manner, because too many members are coming to us saying it's broken, and unfortunately the pushback we're getting from the Clean Energy Regulator is we don't actually have any evidence that it's not working, and the Clean Energy Council keeps telling us it's working fabulously. So not to bag the Clean Energy Council, everyone knows I was involved with them for many, many years and did the utmost to help along the fringes, and I'm a supporter of many, many things that they used to do, but there is still too much complaint about how long that process takes. So if anybody does have evidence or examples or feedback for us, we're happy to play a role there in making sure that process is streamlined.
How long does it take, Nigel? Go on, tell us.
Well, I spoke to a battery manufacturer today. He told me he waited 9 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we had a launch in Sydney last week of the Lunar L1 battery, which is the larger capacity
S1.
7 kilowatt hour. Yeah, S1. Sorry, S1. And ultimately the answer was, we can buy this from the factory now, won't be approved for 9 months. And you're like,
there you go.
Fuck, wow.
There you go.
Holy shit.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money.
Yep. So, Nigel, I'd like to participate in that
You've got one too, haven't you?
Because we're being impacted too. So that'd be great
awesome.
to do. To keep it moving along, though, we normally have some sort of personal question. But this is a bit more of a personal one, Mitch, because it's something we've bonded over, that not only are you into punk rock, but you play in bands and so forth. So tell us a bit about that for those who don't know.
I'd love to, mate. I was worried. I was worried about coming on here and not getting excited enough about solar, so I'm glad you asked about punk rock because I feel much more.
I don't even know
much
what
more
punk
relaxed.
rock is. What is punk rock? Drill me out some beats, So
Can I get you going, Mitch? Can I get you going because I went and saw John Spencer Blues
Nice.
Explosion on Monday night. The granddaddy of punk, the guy who inspired so many of the best punk acts around the world. He's still got it.
Awesome. It's so good watching real people play real instruments. I tell you, I grew up in the 90s. I got into music, started playing drums, had my first band when I was 14, and we played Green Day songs, Blink-182, and then I discovered Fat Records, and that I haven't stopped listening to Fat Records for 30 years.
You're different to the skinny records.
I don't know how many listeners will know what I'm talking about, but
They had the
compilation.
compilation CDs, right? And that's how you'd sample all the bands, and then you go and explore them. And there was a lot more touring back then too. Lots of all ages stuff. Yeah.
Great scene.
And then you played music in bands, so 14, and then as an adult, are you still playing music?
Yeah, still playing, not as regularly, but I played around Melbourne pubs and other cities around Australia from all through the noughties and the early teens. The audience probably declined over that period. People, the kids weren't into punk rock, but I think they say fashions cycle. So I've seen some kids getting
It's coming
into
back,
punk rock
Mitch.
these
It's
days.
coming
Have
back.
you done some jams with Luke? We just have to know because Luke can play the drums, he can play the guitar, he can sing a tune. So, in terms of garage bands and garage jams, Luke Beattie's the man.
We have discussed this as a
discussed
concert.
I actually pitched to Costa and Lauren earlier this year that Cutters karaoke with an industry house band at All Energy would be sick. But that's not what they said. They're like, huh? Nah.
Yep.
So maybe next year I got to do some lobbying, get some more people on board.
We'll just book out
There's
a
an
bar
event- there's
in
an
South
event-
Melbourne.
Well, I'm telling you right now, there's an event in May in Sydney called the Smart Energy Week. I happen to know the event organiser fairly well.
Do you reckon John will let us play on the main stage?
I reckon
CPD
I've got
points.
influence.
Next
That's
minute,
all I can
someone's setting
say.
up a drum kit and a stage.
I've got influence.
Anyway, guys, we're going to have to wrap this up shortly. So Jess looks like she's dropped off. She might pop back in, hopefully. But we're just going to go around for last comments, and we'll start with you, Karl.
It's coming into summer. I bang on about this all the time. We've seen lots of renewables in the grid, and there's lots of projects that are sitting there ready to go, waiting for a market signal, and the market signal's demand. So best way for us to move the demand forward is for people to go out and buy electric cars again. And Daniel Bleakley, who has been in the industry in one way, shape or form for a very long time, he's working for an electric truck manufacturer, and there are electric trucks hitting the road all over Australia right now, which is awesome.
Of course, we've had Dan on the podcast before, and he's got, what's his YouTube channel? Coal Miners Driving Teslas.
Yes.
Yeah, really cool channel. Yeah, awesome. And Jess, last comments?
Sorry for my little technical difficulties there. So I just wanted to give a massive shout out to Laurens from Six Star, Lauren Seconti, and also Lauren from Supply Partners. I've had some really great chats with them, and I think it's just really great the way that our industry brings good people together to lean on each other and support each other and just get excited. And yeah, looking forward to having a good cheers with them in a couple of weeks and with everyone else at All Energy. But yeah, that's my big one.
Awesome. And Nige?
I'm going to back those good feels up because what made my day today was I actually had 3 separate phone calls from people talking about a whole range of issues, but at its heart, what they said to me was, Nige, I'm just worried about the industry. I just really want this industry that we've all worked so hard for to be successful and for these programs to work well and for us to keep the balance right. And it was so heartwarming to me that we've got so many people out there who actually just want this industry to just be massively, massively great and successful and reasonable.
Reasonable.
It's not complicated. Just reasonable, right?
Just reasonable.
You know,
Yeah.
just reasonable. Make some money, do some great stuff, you know, do the right thing, all those kinds of things, you know.
What do they
And
see
so-
going wrong, Nige?
What do they see going wrong? It varies, but, you know, the concern at the moment is that the battery rebate, whilst it has some great elements to it, there's an argument that maybe it's overheated things a little bit, and that's dragged in some new entrants that may or may not be here in a few years, and it's created a bit of a feeding frenzy. And how do we get that balance right? That crosses over into just, you know, number 42 on my list of advocacy projects, which is 2 installs a day, the right number. Does that constrain things and keep the level constrained enough to ensure quality, for example? Is that a good mechanism that's actually working in the industry's favour versus are we holding businesses back who could actually demonstrate or innovate to do more than that? And so, you know, it's always around quality and ongoing support and being here for the long run. That's what those issues are all about. And people who have been in the industry for a while go, I'm not in this for tomorrow. I'm in this for the next 5, 10, 15 years. I want this long-term sustainability, not only for my own benefit, but for the next generation who come along. So huge shout out to those people who have really, really, really solid goodwill for this industry.
So good. All right. And Andrew Mitchell, or Mitch, from Franklin, WH, last comments.
I had similar thoughts to Nigel, actually. But one of the favourite parts of my job is going out and speaking to people, business owners, operators, installers, and just hearing their stories and being there to see the outcomes and assisting them deliver great outcomes to their customers, and just, you know, being reminded of why we joined this industry in the first place. And remembering, you know, there's so much noise and distractions, and, you know, programs like the Cheaper Home Battery Scheme introduce, or they exacerbate those and heighten those. But I get to Nigel's point, just remember why we're all here, think longer term, and stick to our strengths, and don't change course.
Very
good.
good.
Thank you for having me. It was nice to nice to be part of the conversation, and look forward to seeing everyone in person in a few weeks.
Hey, you got
Awesome.
a word in. That's pretty good.
I'm looking forward to Mitch buying me a beer. You've been quite the gentleman. We expect the guests to kind of jump in and you know, throw it in, but you've been very courteous, over courteous.
I spend my life meeting customers alongside sales reps, and so I take the role of the listener.
Yeah.
So I'm used to listening and then remembering what we talked about.
I'm not
Hopefully what the
familiar with
customer
that
talked
role.
about. No. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Mitch. It's been great. And thanks to you for watching or listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Now that we're on YouTube, you can share it very conveniently on socials. And we'll catch you next time.
Tired of scrambling for CPD points at the last minute? With Southwell Solar Training, you can earn all 100 points for your accreditation without leaving home and without wasting time on boring, irrelevant courses. Our online training is practical, compliance-focused, and designed by industry pros who've actually been on the tools. Learn at your own pace, get your certificate instantly, and stay compliant without the stress. Check out the full course list now at southwellsolartraining.com.au and get your CPD the easy way.